Since the beginning of the Rocket League Championship Series, the LAN events have been some of the most fun things that I have personally ever watched. They are widely loved from the Rocket League community. These LAN events give us exciting series and worldwide matchups not possible in online play, amazing crowds, and timeless goals and sequences that will stay rent-free in majority of Rocket League players' minds for years to come. Hello everybody, today I'll be ranking all the open air LAN events that have taken place so far in Rocket League. Surprisingly, this is a topic that has been rarely discussed, and honestly not discussed at all amongst the Rocket League community, so today I figured I'd give it a try. I would like to challenge any content creator or any of you watching this to give this a shot. I genuinely had a great time rewatching all of the highlights from these events. It takes you back down memory lane, especially with all the older teams and players that you forgot even played at these events. The criteria for this ranking is based off of match quality and crowd quality. So obviously the first open air major quality isn't going to be anywhere close to the most recent major that we had. So I think the qualities of the crowd and the match quality will help shake up the ranking a bit. Last thing before we hop into this is the most important one, that these are all my opinion. So you could go and rank all of these for fun by yourself and have a completely different list than mine, and that's completely fine. That is the beauty of doing rankings like these. But without further ado, let's hop into this ranking. Starting off our list at number 12, I have the 2021-2022 Fall Major. This major was the first RLCS LAN event back since the pandemic. However, there was not a crowd, and that's what puts this major at the lowest for me personally. It being number 12, however, does not take anything away from it. This major had a classic grand finals between BDS and NRG in the best 2 of 3 finals. Hands up if you remember those days. The grand finals had Team BDS coming out on top, and proving their online dominance was no fluke. It also saw newly formed FaZe with AJ, Illusion, and First Killer playing out of their mind. Rookie of the Year Seiko dominating in his first ever RLCS event. This also marked the end of NRG and their dominance through all of NA. This was the very last tournament where it felt like they were truly one of the top teams there. And maybe most importantly, this major brought us to now prestige minor region teams such as Team Falcons and Furia, marking their territory in the scene and showing that they are here to stay. Overall, this major was great, but the no crowd aspect has it coming in at number 12 for me. At number 11, I have the 2022-2023 Fall Major. Back-to-back Fall Majors here to start the ranking. This major saw Genji take the event in a very solid grand finals against Moist with Astral. We also saw Team Secret with a very impressive top 4 run, in which they really could have made the grand finals, falling just short to Moist. This was the first LAN event for the newly formed KC team with Itachi, Exotic, and Vatira. The quarterfinals consisted of some very exciting matchups, seeing Genji and FaZe Clan both win in Game 7s against EU's Oxygen and Team Liquid. This was also a big moment for NA, winning their first LAN event since G2 in the 2021-2022 Winter Major. Also a very iconic game-winning goal in the grand finals.
Just probing at the moment. Any of their players could be that guy. Same for Genji. Oh, what a pass!
Overall, a very good major. However, compared to the other majors, it lands here at number 11 for me. At number 10, I have the 2022-2023 Winter Major. This may be the first shock of the video, however it kind of just shows the brutalness of ranking all these great events. This major saw Carmine Corp coming out on top of FaZe Clan in the grand finals. One of the most unfortunate missed touches in recent times saw Carmine Corp capitalize on a poor backboard touch in what was a very stellar grand final, with FaZe playing some of the greatest Rocket League I'd seen them play that season. This major brought us one of my personal favorite teams of all time to ever watch in Complexity. It also showed us the bounce back of Vitality right before Zen was able to compete. Vitality with Redocin, Sizen, and Alpha 54 fell short to Liquid in the quarters, with Liquid going on to lose to KC. Not much after that, but still a very good major with also a very good crowd. At number 9, I have the most recent major, the 2025 Birmingham Major. This event had a really stellar Swiss stage with exciting and fresh matchups. First one that comes to mind was the Twisted Minds versus Vitality, the Zen versus Nupo match. Both of these guys going back and forth clipping on each other was awesome to watch and set the tone for the Swiss stage.
Long way to go still in this game though. And what a game it's been. Naupo going the other way. Has he got the double on target? Of course he does! Oh my goodness!
Oh, rightly so. was going to be the match of the day, and you are seeing why. Perfection from Nalpo. Kissed the underside of...
Where this event personally lacked for me was the crowd and a decent playoff stage. The crowd was hot at some points, but there were some series where I was personally like, wait, there was a crowd there, and it kind of took some of the air out of the series for me. The end of the tournament saw the favorites Carmine Corp sweep the Ultimates to cap off their dominant run. Overall, a fun tournament with super high quality gameplay and series. It was just lacking a few things that could have made it higher for me. At number 8, I have the 2022-2023 Spring Major. Now, it does 100% look like I'm just hating on this season, but I swear I'm not. All these events are just that great. This major is marked with 3 letters, and that is Z-E-N. The arrival of Zen and dominance of Vitality on LAN started right here. This was also the LAN that had the Complexity versus Vitality series where AJG missed the open net in Game 5 that turned into a Vitality Series 1. All love AJG though, he is genuinely one of my favorite RLCS players to watch. This LAN also saw the debut of the Twins, Rawas, and Killers, putting up the most competitive 4-0 in RLCS history against Vitality. Getting back to Vitality after losing the upper bracket semis to BDS, they then swept Gen.G and Roll 1 to get to the lower bracket final. And in a super intense matchup against KC, they won in Game 7 overtime. They then went on to beat BDS twice in the grand finals after securing the bracket reset. This major has Zen stapled all over it and the start of the dominance of Vitality to end the season. At number 7, we have our very first Worlds event of the ranking. The 2021-2022 Worlds event introduced us to the very entertaining wildcard stage, which had 8 teams come out of Swiss to play the top 8 teams in total points for all of the events. This LAN gave us a preview of one of the best players in our game today, Exotic, with his team Semper shocking everybody, winning some series that really nobody expected them to. We also saw the debut of the club, showing us some of the premier names amongst the SAM region in Lost, Astramic, and KV1. Onto the playoff stage, we saw arguably the greatest Rocket League series of all time, Inferior versus Moist. The excitement amongst the community come out of this matchup was something that we don't really see a lot. Also being a ginormous upset with how dominant Moist was leading up to this point.
We keep going! They're on. Now they're up against it. Furia! Have they done it?
It was one of the very early signs of the potential the South America region has, and it only grew after this event. It was the very last LAN for the North American Super Team NRG, falling to future finalist G2. This was also the last event for the fan favorite SSG roster. The grand finals saw BDS roll over G2 in what in my opinion was a very lackluster grand finals because BDS was just playing that well. However, overall it was a great event and definitely shaked up the scene, forcing all regions to level up their game come the next season. At number 6, I have the 2024 London Major. In this major we saw G2 Stride find their first LAN event in 2 seasons. This major saw the first ever top 4 that included 4 different regions. It was truly a monumental accomplishment in all of the RLCS. This major also saw what in my opinion is arguably the greatest Rocket League series ever played in Falcons vs Gentlemates, with the series ending in Game 7 overtime, giving Falcons their second grand finals appearance as a roster. G2 Stride had an amazing playoff stage, dropping only 4 games in total, with Beast Mode having one of the most impressive MVP performances I've seen in a while. You can also never forget the greatest cast of all time with T-Bates and Dazarin cheering for their respective teams in G2 and Gen.G in the Swiss League.
He's sweating actually. I'm looking at him right now. He's sweating. Look at this. Tommy has to try to get demos because he can't.
Oh! Wait, what is that? Let's open up the bookmarks tab. The Beast, he's starting to become a fraud. I don't think so, baby. Off the wall, baby. Reverse psycho, I know the name of it. I know it's in your net.
The quarterfinal quality lacked with no series going to Game 6, so overall the match quality wasn't there for me, which is why I put it here in the number 6 spot. Otherwise, it was a great major in which NA proved again that they're there to compete after a couple of rough LAN performances. Cracking the top 5, I have the 2022-2023 Worlds. Let me say this first. This is 100% the best crowd Rocket League has ever seen.
That pressure, because let me remind you, Spaceman, after the first kickoff, NIP were in control for what felt like most of the first 2 minutes. And Complexity didn't budge. The defense stood tall, as we can see the hype. The KC flags are already out. This isn't even a KC matchup. Dusseldorf is definitely going to be going crazier and crazier as the day continues. But my word, come.
The scenes from this world still gave me chills when I rewatched this. I will also state that beginning from here, I genuinely believe that any of these can be interchangeable. Where to even start? Let's start with the wild card, where we saw, in my opinion, the top 8 teams in it actually make it through, which never normally happens. That brought us to the grueling group stage, where we saw a classic series between Complexity and Carmine Corp that saw KC win in 7. We also saw the arrival of Juicy, showing the world what he is capable of, beating FaZe Clan. We also saw the true potential of LJ with him winning the world's offensive MVP, clipping on any and everybody. Moving on to the playoff stage, where KC and Vitality put on a clinic, and also having truly what I believed one of the most iconic goals and greatest caster calls ever from Jorby.
And it bounces up for Alpha.
He's got another touch. Alpha puts Hero red right way. Here's Zen up high. Takes it up. Zen across. Oh! Call him Mr. Physics. He bends reality to his will.
This series was honestly the real grand final, with the crowd hot and roaring. It was then followed up with Vitality sweeping BDS in the grand finals. The reason I have it here with all of those things happening is I believe other regions were lacking in this tournament, especially in the later part of the tournament. The semifinals were 4 EU teams. NA, SAM, and MENA were all severely lacking in competition compared to EU at the end of that season. The grand finals were also very lackluster. Vitality were playing good, but I truly do believe that BDS were not playing up to their standard. However, there are absolute gems of clips and series included in this world, making it truly unforgettable. At number 4, I had the 2021-2022 Spring Major. This event has a lot of nostalgia to it. The grand finals had Moist Esports taking the bracket reset against the Falcons. This was a monumental moment for the RLCS. It was the first ever minor region that made it to the grand finals, and they truly had a chance in the first series. After that, the momentum was too much for them to handle, with Moist essentially freestyling them at the end. This event had a very good crowd, and it was the return to the Copper Box Arena. This major saw Team Liquid show their true potential on their LAN debut after having a good online split. It also saw version 1 claim a top 3, where they took down the KC roster of Itachi, Astro, and Noli. What a squad looking back on it. Version 1 then fell to Falcons in Game 7 and then got steamrolled by Moist in the lower bracket final. There was another classic series between Space Station and Moist that went to Game 7 and still haunts me to this day. I genuinely was screaming when SSG scored the late goal in Game 7, then my mood instantly changed after the equalizer from Moist.
9 seconds from success.
Can they do it?
Oh no! Oh my goodness! A complete gap on the kickoff, and Moist have tied it up.
That Moist team had crazy plot armor this lane. Moist Esports winning was, however, very fresh for the scene and was cool to see. This was a very nostalgic event, and it falls here at number 4 for me. Breaking into the top 3, I had the 2024 Copenhagen Major. The region representation in the crowd was awesome to see. It felt every region had great crowd support. This major saw the rise of the Genomates playing just alright to make the event in the online phase. Juicy, Itachi, and Seiko excelled in the LAN environment, showing what I believe is one of the better forms I've seen a team play in. Going unbeaten in the whole event is no easy task, and they did it in extremely convincing fashion. A good Swiss stage brought us into a super competitive playoff stage. G2 took out BDS in an entertaining 6-game series, with Daniel scoring a wonder goal to help G2 win.
To do too much when they have the ball. Beast Mode's the player who's broken through that. Atomic wins the race. Here's Daniel! It's in! How's that one gone in?
Daniel is back! Tied game for G2. What an angle!
Gen G took the then winner Genomates to Game 7 in what I believe to be the best form we saw Gen G in that whole season. They truly could have won the series, but mates showed their ice in Game 7. Carmine Corp beat Falcons in Game 7 in what, in my opinion, was the best series ever played in terms of quality and skill. Both teams kept on swinging in and made it one of the greatest LAN series of all time. Seriously, that series is worth a rewatch. In the semis, we finally got the long-awaited Zen vs Daniel series, with G2 coming out on top with Zen playing in incredible fashion, but it was not enough. Daniel again with another insane goal to change the momentum in the series. Gentlemates took down KC in 7 in a great series, giving us the finals of Gentlemates vs G2. And in Game 6, Gentlemates held off the G2 comeback and took the finals to win the major. The match quality of this major is one of the most impressive we have ever seen, and Gentlemates also showed some of the best form I've seen in terms of people playing as a team. Excellent major with a very cool conclusion. At number 2, I have the 2024 World Championship. I believe this is the most competitive LAN Rocket League has ever had between all of the regions, with even OCE showing strides with 2 teams making it round 5 of Swiss. It also had a refreshing new format that we hadn't seen before coming out of the Swiss stage. Also, the decision to have all the teams have the opportunity to play in front of the crowd was a great idea. However, I just don't understand why it took so long to implement that. This gave the 0-2 and 1-2 rounds some more flair to them and made them way more entertaining. The playoff stage gave us some crazy competitive series with 8 of the 9 series ending in Game 6 or higher. Multiple reverse sweep attempts that were turned down that truly proved that anyone at this level can win any series in front of them, and also showing the importance of each game. Team BDS and Team G2's first matchup was super intense, with BDS coming out on top in 7, and it was somehow topped the very next day with the longest LAN series of all time between Furia and G2. Oxygen having one of the best Cinderella runs we've seen since Winter Major Queso. Wonderful storylines with G2 being NA's last hope and having a rematch with BDS 2 years after they met in the same building in the grand finals. Unfortunately for G2, having the same result. This year's Worlds was awesome and helped make the upcoming 2025 season even more hype. Last but certainly not least, in my opinion, the greatest open era LAN we have ever had. The 2021-2022 Winter Major. Everything about this major screams nostalgia. It was the first crowd back since the pandemic, and it did not disappoint. This major saw G2 win the event after Team Queso forced a bracket reset. This major gave us the debuts of some of the best Rocket League players in our current era. Beast Mode, Daniel, and all of Team Queso. Fan favorites SSG took the tournament by storm, placing top 3 in the whole event, falling to G2 and Queso in one of the craziest final pushes I've seen a team have.
The demo, demolished. He's going upfield. He's hunting. He's hunting.
I will never forget giving my family the context of this match and watching the whole Queso versus Space Station series and screaming so loud in the final seconds of Game 7. Team Queso had, in my opinion, the greatest Cinderella run we have ever seen in Rocket League. And I truly believe if that atomic pre-jump goal never happened in the bracket reset, they would have won the whole thing. They had all the momentum, and that goal swung the series in G2's favor.
Big difference. A pre-jump pass. That's impressive from G2.
Oh, the dunk.
He gets dunked on. Oh my goodness.
G2 playing keep away.
Atomic with one pre-jump pass and then a pre-jump dunk.
This major is perfect. It has everything you want in an event. A Cinderella run, great match quality, and having the crowd back made this event the complete package. That will conclude my ranking. I had so much fun rewatching the LANs and writing this video. I think this topic is perfect to bring up as it has not been done before. With that being said, I challenge the Chalkcast, First Touch, Alpha Cap, and any Rocket League content creator out there to give this a try. And more importantly, I challenge you watching this to also give this a try. I have a playlist of the highlights and order the events on my channel to help you out. If you enjoyed this video and topic, please show some love. This is the very first video I've done that isn't a stream or me talking over gameplay. I hope you all have a great rest of your day and continue to support RLCS. We have the greatest and most exciting esport right here in front of us for all of us to enjoy. Peace out. Hey, I just wanted to add this in post-editing, just finished this. I just wanted to say that I had an awesome time making this, and I appreciate if you're still here listening. I made this kind of idea about a year ago, and then we've had a few LANs pass since then, which is why there might be a few rough spots that you may have noticed throughout the video. But I would love if you shared this to really anybody, just to see if we can get this topic to blow up, because I think it would be some nice, fresh content that really the Rocket League scene doesn't have going on right now. So like I said, I would appreciate if you can like, share, send this to people that you know, and see if we can get this content blowing up here, or this topic. So thank you very much, and I'm out.